We're back.
Welcome back to
Our 10,000th episode.
it's somewhere between that 1 and a billion.
1 in a billion.
Do you like ducks?
I do.
Yeah, I like ducks.
Okay.
Do you know about the Peabody Motel?
No.
Oh no, it's a
yes.
hotel. Peabody
Yeah,
Hotel
the
in
Peabody.
Memphis.
Yeah, they had one in Florida too.
Yeah, it's awesome. They have ducks on the roof. And
They
then
do the duck parade.
Yeah, they bring them down the elevator and they swim around in the fountain.
Yep.
Super cool.
Yep.
A lot of fun stuff down in Memphis. So my dad takes me to Memphis.
Okay.
To go see the ducks at the Peabody. And while we're out in the evening, we're in an alleyway and I just see this guy laying in the alleyway face down.
Okay, so we're gonna preface this story as what are we gonna call this one?
Well,
Oh, I've got it.
I'm
This one's gonna be called "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor." How about that?
no, Stand By Me.
Oh, stand by. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. Continue.
Yeah. So I turned to my dad and I'm like, is that guy dead? And my dad's I think he's still a medic at this time. He's like, come on, let's go. And it wasn't until later on that he told me, yeah, that was a fucking dead guy.
That was a fucking dead guy.
So that was my first dead body.
Dead bodies.
I know.
So that's what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
The first. Well, maybe it doesn't even have to be the first. Just dead bodies.
Just bodies, finding bodies.
Yep. Finding bodies.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So I actually have. So we have two things. Before we preface this, we got a write-in.
Really?
Yeah, we got another one from another meme page guy.
Did you write this because no one watches this?
No, I didn't. He. This person actually wrote in, and it's from the page that you liked. Mac Blades and Anime Babes.
Oh, yeah. I love anime.
Whoever you are, you found a soft spot in Andrew's heart.
Yeah, I washed my hair with that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure oil.
Mm-hmm. I didn't read this, but the first thing I see on here is Down syndrome. So I'm really excited to read what this is.
Well, at least it's coming from someone else and not us.
All right. It was my first shift with one of my favorite coworkers who's an absolute goon. It makes me laugh if he just breathes too loud. He worked in a hybrid IFT 911 system, so we were always getting crushed with calls. I know exactly what that's like. That's what I did in Florida. You did IFTs. It was probably like 80-20, 90-10, 911 to IFTs, but you did get those. That was where you were still running on the 12-hour shift. You're doing 10, 11, 12 plus calls a day, like a day. Am I having a stroke? Jesus.
Maybe.
Well, guys, you're going to see something new.
I'm going to call an ambulance because I'm not
Don't.
doing anything.
Don't just punch out and leave me here.
I will. I'll go knock on the door and be like, hey,
There's someone, speaking of dead bodies. One
Preston's upstairs. You might want to go check on him in like,
4
2 days.
hours, please. Yeah, give it a while.
yeah.
We got toned out at like midnight for a medical alarm activation for someone with a rash. Fuck you. We roll up with the fire officer. Oh, we roll up and the fire officer tells us that she's alert and has a gross rash on her back and that she has Down syndrome. She was a bit anxious at first, so we have her get in the truck and she was already starting to relax a bit. My partner goes, "Before you sit on the stretcher, can we see the rash?" She lifts her shirt and she's kind of giggling, and my partner kind of had a nervous laugh, and he's like, "I hope that's not MRSA, ha ha ha." And she starts laughing, and I asked her if she had any medical problems, and she goes, "Yeah, I'm retarded." I sunk my teeth into my arm, trying not to laugh, and collapsed into the airway seat. My partner held it together and goes, "Oh no, don't say that." She turned around and looks at me dead in the eyes and smiled and goes, "No, really, I'm really retarded." My partner just casually hops out the side door and stares at me with a grin and slams the door. I could hear him cackling as he walked to the driver's side. I had tears streaming down my face. It was a 10-minute transport, and I had to make the patch in the ambulance bay because I couldn't stop laughing. Dude.
A lot of people hated the mask mandates.
Mm-hmm.
I loved them because I didn't have to use my...
You also didn't have to cover anything up.
No,
So when
I-
anyone says some dumb shit, you can just start laughing and be like, it's not me.
yeah. I don't have to be straight faced and serious. They're like, I'm dying, I'm sick.
Yeah. Dude, jokes on anyone else. When we pick people up, they're like, how are you? I'm like, I don't know. I'm retarded. You got the
Yeah.
special bus today.
They did. It's very short.
It's very short. So thank you. Thank you for the comment. We've got some more coming in. We've got another story from someone else that we're going to include on our topic of dead bodies today. You want to start yours? You did the Memphis story. Do you have one in particular that you like?
That was the first dead person
That you've
I
seen.
saw, but
They're weird. They're gray. You saw yours from a distance, but when you see them up front, they look like a candle.
no, this was like an arm's reach away. We were walking down a Memphis alleyway, and I was like, that looks like a dead guy. But I was barely old enough
Yeah.
to understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Now I look back and I'm like, that's awesome.
Definitely a dead
I
guy.
saw a dead guy, real young.
Yeah.
Typically, you have to go to a third world country for that.
Memphis.
Or your grandma.
Or you can just go to Memphis
Yeah.
because we treat the people exactly the same.
So actually, I'm going to save you some effort. So we work with Beep Beep.
Okay. Yep.
And he got a patient that had a rash on their asshole that they called for. And this guy is such a quality and competent care provider that he assessed this old woman's asshole in the ambulance.
For what? You're like, also, I moonlight as a medic, but I'm actually a dermatologist.
Why do you need to look at it? That sounds like a doctor problem.
That doesn't sound like it. It is.
Yeah, it very much.
What are you going to do? What part of the Nancy Caroline paramedic book did you be like, oh, I can diagnose fucking ass rashes?
You're supposed to assess your patient. What if she had a gunshot wound in her asshole?
Surprise.
Direct pressure.
Yeah. She just blew it out.
That was a different episode. Oh, no, it wasn't. We can talk about people blowing out their assholes.
Yeah, I got one. Someone was waving her innards that were on the outer. She was flinging it around like an elephant trunk when I got there. And I was like, this is too early. It's 4 a.m.
So there was this missing person. I'm going to be very vague because.
Okay.
Is that me?
No, that is you.
Oh, shame on me.
The shames.
Oh, for shame. I hope
For
people
shame.
rail on me in the comments.
Yeah.
They won't. No one comments on this.
I will.
Good.
Like,
Tell me.
fuck you.
Tell me I suck. I like it.
Yeah.
So, missing person, been missing for a couple weeks, and no one's found him. And the person's family members are going all over town trying to find this person. And no one's seen him, no real leads. And the missing person's father thinks he's found him and thinks that he's dead. So they call us. We go out there, and it was under like an overpass over a river where, some people hang out, vagrants typically. We get down there, and it's definitely not the person they're looking for. It's a different droid, but this person is still very dead.
Yep.
And the cops kind of temper us. They're like, yeah, this looks like a suicide. We're just going to call it a suicide. We'll have the ME come out here and get the body. We're like, okay, cool. And I go down there, and it's a older gentleman, and he's only wearing pants, and there's paraphernalia for heroin use, and his jacket is behind him if you go under the bridge abutment where you think about people laying. So he's sitting on the gravel, leaning up against that, and he's got some stuff behind him.
Yeah.
And I notice in his lap that there is a 25 caliber pistol. His finger's still on the trigger, and it's laying in his lap like this. And I just do a quick assessment, being a diligent provider. And this guy has been shot in the back of the head, and the bullet has come out right over his right eye. So either he shot himself like this, or it wasn't a suicide. And the cops they just don't want to do the paperwork.
Yep. Yeah. So that'll roll into mine. That was very close.
Oh,
Got called out for an obvious DOA. Cops are like, "Hey, we just need you to come out, pronounce him. This is a suicide." I'm like, "Okay." Go inside, grab my monitor. You know, it's the whole one person in, one person out because it's technically a crime scene. Blah blah blah. Go in there, and I walk up, and I'm like, "This guy's gray," and you can already see the lividity. Like, you could tell in his hands, like everything was just like, because he was naked. And you could just see in the bottom of his legs and stuff like that. You can kind of peeked around his back. It was already lividity and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, I don't even have to, it's obvious signs of death, right? Which, by the way, we need to be very careful because apparently people are like, oh yeah, he's dead. Shout out. What was that? You sent me the other day the place from Ohio that's like, oh yeah, this lady's dead, and ME was like 2 hours later gave her some Narcan and she popped right up.
uh-oh.
Not dead.
Oops.
Yeah. Understand what signs of lividity is.
Yeah. Assess your patient.
Don't guess.
And well, sometimes you can look and say, oh, they're very dead.
Yeah. But anyways, the person's dead and he's cut up. He's cut across his wrists and his arms, and he's cut across his groin. Like deep cuts across his groin. But like fucking deep. Like you would bleed out from this, right?
Right.
We get there and the cop's in the room with me, and I'm like, yeah, he's deceased for sure. I'll get a time of death real quick. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, hey man, what's the story? And they're like, oh, whatever, family came and found him. He's deceased. I was like, okay. I mean, it looks like he cut himself, right? He's like, yeah, for sure. I'm like, okay, well, where's the blood? And the cop's looking around, and now he has this bewildered face of like, where is the blood? Dude, he's completely clean. The bed's completely clean. There isn't a drop of blood anywhere. Not even a drop. I was like, dude, there would be blood. I'm like, if he cut his arteries, whether it's venous or he cut his femoral, I'm like, there's blood, at least in the wounds or anything like that.
A little bit.
There'd be a little bit. He's like, oh, well, maybe it just, slowly dripped into the bed. I'm like, bro, he's on white sheets. I'm like, this is the cleanest bleed out I've ever seen. And I'm looking at him like, he's like, well, maybe he walked in here. I'm like, okay, well, and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, why do I have to play the fucking detective?
You still have to have blood to walk.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, where's the bloody steps? I'm like, there would be blood out there. There would be blood somewhere.
Right.
There wasn't a lick of blood anywhere. And so now this cop's just like, I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to be, fucking Blue's Clues here. But I'm like, this person died somewhere else and was cleaned up and dropped here. I'm like, there's no blood. I'm like, he's washed clean. He's probably bleached down, so there's no evidence of anyone. And they wrapped him up and then dropped him off in those sheets. And he's just like, I'm like, bro,
obvious suicide.
I was like, I'm not trying to like step on your toes here, but I'm like, if there was a murder, like, this would be like the most murdery type murder.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, it sounds like you don't want to do an investigation.
Exactly.
I'm like, again, you asked me for a time of death. I'm going to get you a time of death, but there's no blood left in this person's body. He was as white as a sheet, and he has gross lacerations to both femorals, and he's lacerated on his wrists and up his arms. He's sliced up.
He definitely didn't get murdered.
The cops are like, that's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
He just made his blood disappear. He's a magician too. We didn't tell you that.
Yeah, invisible blood.
Invisible blood.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
You spill it and then it goes away after a little while.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we got a time of death, and I'm like, all right, I just pointed you in the right direction of a murder.
Yeah.
Dude, 100% that's getting written up still as a suicide.
To protect and serve.
Yeah, because then your numbers stay down.
Mm-hmm. So back in the 80s, when both my parents were paramedics, my mom had one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, both my parents were paramedics.
What's up?
I haven't told them about this. They're never going to know.
Well, one of them won't.
That's well, I am sure she'll find it. She's a terrible person. But on the
up,
topic
Mom?
of her being a terrible person, so she went out to a DOA suicide hanging,
Mm-hmm.
and it was on Halloween. Apparently, the woman saw the body because she was doing dishes and could see it out of her window hanging from a tree
Mhm.
across the property.
Yep.
She was like, "Oh, it's Halloween decorations."
You're like, but isn't that Phyllis?
Yeah, so they went out there and they were like, "Oh, this person hanged themselves."
She's really committed to this.
They
To her decor.
also tied their hands behind their back and they tied their feet together and then they jumped out of the tree. Yeah. So the police wrote that up as a suicide. I mean, it's impressive.
Imagine climbing into the. I mean, even if it,
So,
the agility on that person's amazing.
well, do you climb up in the tree,
And then tie yourself.
put the noose on, and then tie your feet together, and then tie your hands together, and then jump?
Yes. That's actually logically what I would do.
And don't slip halfway through tying your feet together.
If you were gonna do it, that would be the time to do it.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, right, dude. The joke on that would be great.
Yeah.
Again, not advocating for anything.
Put a
but
note in your pocket and
put a piece of candy in there.
oh, make
Trick or treat.
Make
You're
No,
holding the bucket.
fill yourself full
Oh,
of fill yourself full of candy like a piñata.
Oh God, dude! Imagine that, holding the bucket.
Trick or treat.
Kids are like, oh.
What are you supposed to be?
They're like, dang, this looks real. All right, but I'm gonna get a couple pieces though.
Yeah, might as well.
So, yeah, actually, a buddy of mine just told me, shared a story of one of his first, most memorable DOAs. He was on the fire department, got called in. Police called. They were like, "Hey, it was welfare check. We just need a time of death." And so they get out there, and he's like, he goes upstairs as soon as they crack the door because they had to make entry. Crack the door, and immediately they are just inundated with the smell.
Nice.
And we can all go like this and go, "Yep, I can still smell it.
I know that smell.
It's gross."
We all know that smell.
Move that close to your mouth.
I'm drinking something. I'm gonna lean in like this so I can look right at you.
Okay.
Fine, I'll do it here and then I'll just turn to the side and you can hear
Yes.
me gulping.
Yeah. Glug, glug.
No.
All right, fine. Whatever. Do whatever you want. So they just drink quieter. So
No wonder no one watches.
no one wonders. You guys are retarded. That random meme page was right. You guys are retarded.
Yeah.
So he goes up. He's like, "I'm not going in there without some proper PPE." So he goes and goes downstairs, puts his tie back on, and throws on his air pack. He's like, "Nope, nope, nope, nope. I'm only smelling good air." And so grabs his air pack, walks upstairs, and he's like, "Dude, it was like a human-sized pitch black water balloon that is filled up to the max. That's like one cool whiff away from exploding everywhere." And he's like, dead, and walked out. And the ME was just pulling up, and the ME's like, "I need help. I can't go up there. I don't have like the protection in like air to go up there." He's like,
Just breathe it in.
Can you bring the body down?" And they're like, "Don't you need pictures?" He's like, "Nope." He's like, "Just bring it down." He's like, "I'll take pictures after that's out of there." And it's aired out for a while. So he's like, "Do I have to do this for real?" And I guess whatever the lieutenant or whoever was on there on time at the time was like, "Yeah, let's help this guy out." So he grabs, a mega mover, and him and another person go up, and they're like slowly. It's basically like you're a bomb tech at this point. So they lay out the mega mover, and it's just like anyone else. You roll the person, stuff it under, roll back, pull it out the backside. You're on the mega mover, right?
it's dangerous rolling a bloated
Dangerous.
patient.
So one roll, I guess, was done. Stuffed it, rolled back, and the guy just exploded.
Of course.
Boom! But like popped.
To all the listeners,
And it's not a joke when it pops. It's an actual pop.
Yeah.
It's a pop.
like the whale.
Yes.
You've seen that
yes,
whale video?
It's exactly
Yeah.
what it's like with when like you have like all the gases and you see those animals that are dead in the water or whatever, and they just explode in the water. Humans do that too.
They do.
So
It's because we're animals.
it's because we're little animals.
We're the best animals. We make Cheetos.
So now this leaking person is all over their mega mover, and they had to drag it all the way out, and the maintenance worker is right behind them with like a spray bottle of bleach, thinking that that's gonna, because I guess it was in like an apartment complex, and so he's like right behind them, and it's just, I mean, they tried to collect it as much as they could, but it's just dripping
Yeah.
off this mega mover, and he's coming behind him like the cleaner shrimp from fucking Finding Nemo. He's like,
I don't know. That cleaner shrimp might be into it.
dude, he was down. But that guy's like, oh no. And he's just spraying bleach everywhere that it's just dripping down all the way out to the fucking truck.
That guy's seen some stuff.
Dude.
To see a bloated corpse getting dragged down a hallway and your primary concern being like, I got to clean this up. You've seen some
Again.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a couple other ones that I was told about. So Florida, there's a very large bridge, right? And I don't know if he got fired or in trouble for it at all, but it's, I think the Skyway is the tallest fixed land bridge in America. It's something like that,
Maybe.
or second tallest.
Golden Gate's pretty tall.
Golden, it's either that or the Golden Gate. The thing is with Skyway, the Skyway Bridge, is it goes way the fuck up and then way down, so all the cruise ships and everyone can go through it, like the
Yeah.
full size cruise ships.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's real high, and jumpers all the time, right? And
For fun?
yep, summer for fun. I mean, I guess there was for fun. The people tried to do like a bungee swing on it, and
Oh.
that's the bridge. Remember that group bungee
Yeah.
that came down,
And they
went-
all got annihilated.
yeah, they all got messed up.
Yes,
on it.
because like 7 of them went on a single bungee cord.
Yep. Yeah. That's the bridge. Oops. So the guy jumps, and so the thing is if there's pylons. So if you, and that's where the boats go. That's where it's carved out super deep, so these boats can go. Jump through here, you're not gonna survive. If you jump through here, you're gonna hit the bottom, and there's a higher chance because it's only like 10 feet deep.
Oh.
And so there's a much higher chance, and unfortunately, like I've been a part of that, where you jump on the other side of the pylon and you live, and they come back up with all of just broken bones.
Ouch.
And this guy made it on the other side of the pylon, but they couldn't find the body. So they're like, well, all right, well, it's dinner time, so we'll never see it. And so they ended up, it was like their shift rotation later, so 24:48. So it's a few days later. They believe it was that person. They get called out for remains at a beach, and they come in, and it's just a bleached skull. Like it had already been eaten, like cleaned off and everything like that.
Dude.
And it's just like the skull and the top of the vertebra, and it's sitting on the beach, and the top of it is just gone. And he picks up the head, deceased head, and he's like, in front of everyone. And of course, I love my friend. I'm not going to say his name. I don't know if he'll listen or not, but if you do listen, I know you know who I'm talking about. But he's got in his family, his brother has Asperger's. He doesn't like social situations very much either. But he also doesn't have a filter on what he says either sometimes. And he picks it up and he's like, oh, this would make a hell of a chip dip bowl.
Hell yeah. I like
And
it.
it's just this deep carved in head, nothing in it, cleaned out. I'm like, dude, if you could dip that in some chrome,
Yeah. I bet the crabs were so happy.
dude,
The happiest crabs.
the happiest.
That was depressing.
That was, but dude, he made a great chip dip bowl.
I bet he did.
Yeah. Too
Yeah.
bad no one. I mean, no one can keep it to
Yeah.
actually put it to use. But
Everything's a chip dip bowl if you're brave enough.
if you're brave enough,
Yeah. The whole world.
yeah. Have you ever gotten in trouble, like for being on scene or like inappropriate? Because obviously, like we become desensitized to stuff where like you make maybe too many dead person jokes.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I'm pretty tactful.
Yeah, I'm not quite as much.
I can compose
yeah.
myself on scene.
Yeah. So we were first on a call, and there was a gentleman deceased. It looks like he just stood up and right over, just died. Went out the way everyone wants to go out, right?
Dying.
Well, I mean, fast, quick. Ooh, toes.
No. My toes are cold,
I
like
know.
little ice cubes.
Yeah, no. Fast, quick. You know, didn't look like there was anything traumatic. Just over. And this is at that agency I was saying that's like you're gonna get your face beat in from the start. From the time you start to the time you end.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there's no time to eat. Like it's very hard to do that. And I'm already, 5 hours in, 5 calls in, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, dude, I was first on. I canceled the fire department. They were outside. They're like, can we go? I'm like, yeah, you're fine. The Emmy's almost here and cops are almost here. So I'll hand it over. And what else am I going to do? I got nothing else to do. I'm sitting there and he's dead. Nothing else going on. So it's lunchtime. So it's time for some spaghetti and meatballs.
He won't mind.
Dude, I didn't think anyone would mind, but apparently the cops were so taken back that
Ooh.
I would eat. I'm like, guys,
Why?
what?
He's dead. Like
No.
he didn't take a dump
They
in
were
my spaghetti.
like, you're in the presence of a dead person. I'm like, if I'm dead and I know someone's hungry, I'm like, fucking eat, dude.
Open the fridge.
There's nothing else. Yeah, I'm
You
not
want-
going to use it.
Make some coffee. I don't care.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
probably still fresh. He's an older gentleman, so
It's probably that real watered down coffee.
Folgers that we get at the station that has wood chips in it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Folgers.
Yeah. Folgers hooking us up with the wood chips.
This is when we need to talk about a sponsorship with like Black Rifle Coffee. Black Rifle Coffee. We would love to have some coffee at our station because we get garbage Folgers.
Oh,
Please help us.
Yeah. It's some of the worst coffee I've ever had.
Yeah.
Actually, I
Yeah.
made the
I'm
French
just-
press.
I'm just spaghetti meatballing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they came in and they were like, just flabbergasted. They're like, I cannot believe you would do that. I'm like, I can't believe you guys didn't think of this. I got nothing else to do. Like, what?
Yeah.
Let's not pretend here, guys.
It's weak.
Weak.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. You remember the French press Folgers
mhm.
from the little packs they give us?
Yeah.
That was probably the worst tasting thing I've ever put in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
That was rancid.
Yeah. It's gross.
Mm-hmm.
You've put a lot of things in your mouth.
So many things.
Yeah.
I'm going to put more things in my mouth today.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Cool.
We had a lady who decided that she was going to check out.
Yep.
She was in an apartment complex and she had, I don't know, a dozen cats and she didn't want her cats to starve. So she wrote a note, put it in her bathroom, did her stuff, and then she took a 40 or 50 pound bag of cat food and she cut it open and just wide open to the floor. So we go in for a DOA and it is the smell of ammonia is overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get more experienced, you realize ammonia will anesthetize your smell. Can't smell anything.
Yeah.
So I go in the bathroom to look, and this lady, she's dead. She's on the toilet and she's face down. Her forearms are flat against the ground and all the tissues just sloughed off. So it's just exposed radius ulna. The hands are black. It's all icky and goopy.
Yep.
And the cops in there trying to take pictures and do all their stuff are just dry heaving and retching constantly. I kept telling them, I was like, hey guys, just go back out into the living room and just breathe in through your nose for a few minutes and
Yeah.
paralyze your smell, and then you can go back in. You'll be all good.
Yeah, you don't smell it.
And they thought I was insane.
I mean,
But you know who was only smelling ammonia? Me.
mm-hmm.
That one wasn't even a bad decomp.
Yeah. Dude, that's the trick. The trick decomps. You have to shove something up there before you go in.
Yeah.
I always use and I learned that from, we talked about it earlier, where the necrotizing fasciitis, where that guy died. You shove the alcohol, roll up a couple alcohol swabs and shove them up both of your noses, nasal passages, and then you put your mask over it and you just huff that for a few seconds. I'm sure that's going to give you cancer. Sorry. Don't
It's just
do
alcohol. You'll be all right.
it. Yeah, I don't know.
Use
It's
the
just a
purple
warning.
wipes.
Yeah, shove a purple wipe up your
Yeah.
nose.
Yeah. You can drink the purple wipe juice too.
Yeah, you can drink anything.
You can.
Yeah, I would just shove it up my nose and strap a mask on and go in. Since I'm not cool and having an air pack, and they send me up there.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You're not strong enough.
Strong enough.
My very first decomp, the sewer department, whoever that is, got called out because in this townhomes, the neighbors had called and said, "Hey, there's a sewage leak. It smells awful. Like this whole area smells awful. Smells like sewage. We just need y'all to come and check it out." So this guy gets out there and he's going into each house and he's trying to figure out where this smell is coming from, and he finds the house. So he calls PD. PD gets there and they decide to call EMS because it's an older community. People die.
Yep.
Some people don't have families to call or check on them. And when we pull up, and to go back to what I said before, we were deputy coroners. So we had to pronounce the patient and then we had to take them to the morgue. So he's standing out front and he has a face of dread.
He's like, "I'm sorry, guys."
Immediately I'm like, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah.
And I get out and I don't remember exactly what he said, but the first thing he said was, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And we go inside and the first thing I notice, other than the horrific smell, are all the flies. And on the carpet, there are these black trails, and they're thin, like you're pouring coffee everywhere,
Like
the
out of their asshole?
Yeah, so it's like from the back into the kitchen, and it's just tons of them. It's like someone was just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and we make our way back, and as soon as I enter the bathroom, all I see is a toilet, and it appears to be a woman who has fallen off the toilet face first, and her ass is propped up on the toilet, and her anus and her vagina are full of maggots just writhing. So there is this enormous pile of linen next to her, and it's all soaked with the same like black material. So apparently she had a pretty severe GI bleed, and she found every piece of fabric in the house. She was walking between rooms, leaving trails of GI blood, and then she was using socks, shirts, curtains, whatever, to wipe the GI blood. So, should have called an ambulance. And she dies on the toilet. She slumps and she sits there for weeks until the neighbors called because it smelled like sewage. And, you got your hamstrings are pretty thick, but she has sunk into the toilet. Like the back of her legs are basically attached to the toilet, and we have to get her off. And we can't move her. She's just like, if you grab her, it's just
She'll fall apart.
It's literally falling apart. So we lay out the mega mover, we lay out a sheet, we lay out a body bag.
Wait for you to be like, "Just go in the toilet."
We just flush. That's what you need, the poop knife, so you can cut it up into smaller chunks so it flushes.
Oh God.
So we're laying out all this stuff so we can just burrito her because we got to put her in the ambulance and drive her to the morgue. And my partner at the time like wraps a sheet around her, and he's like pulling her, and I'm trying to like push her, and my hand slips, and she's basically like, she's face down, so her ass is up, so her femurs are vertical.
Okay.
And I'm like pushing her, and without thinking, I grab the back of her leg and I push, and my hand goes all the way through her tissue to the bone, and it's like sticking your hand in Play-Doh. Silly putty. Oh yeah, it was mushy. And they're just, the whole time maggots are just falling out. So the floor is covered in GI blood, all the pool of the juices that have run out, and maggots crawling around everywhere. And we eventually, after, I don't know, it felt like a billion years, we wrap enough towels and sheets around her to drag her off the toilet, and she just right onto the sheet, and we're just like trying to get it all moved together. Very unceremonious.
Yeah.
And we get her in there and we get her all wrapped up, and we drive her to the hospital. But on the way, we stop back at the station so my partner can get the Subway sandwich that he had ordered right before we got this call. And he eats his Subway sandwich and he types up his ticket, and we drive to the hospital.
Yep. Dude, gotta eat.
Gotta eat.
Gotta stay nourished.
Dude, that's just
Dude, I got a bunch of dead bodies.
there's so many.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a part 2.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2 later. So, all right, well,
All right.
30 some minutes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks for listening.
Sorry. This was a really bad episode.
Whoever watches this,
Sorry.
what's that old saying? Listen to us once, shame on us.
All right, George W., go for it. There's a saying in Tennessee.
Listen to us twice, shame on you. Listen
Yeah.
to me once, shame on you. Listen, you're not going to listen to us again. Oh,
You're not going to listen to us
Dude.
again.
George Bush hit that nail right on the head.
That's exactly. He was talking about us,
He was
not about Iraq.
he had premonition.
Yeah.
He knew about 2 things: this podcast and 9/11.
All right.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Bye.